K-Bot, joined by one Magic 8-Ball to bring it home for the evening. Magic, it has been way too long. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I can't believe it's been so long since the last time we've done this. I mean, it must have been years and years ago, right? But I'm feeling like great, and I am ready to watch some exciting matches. How have things been looking? I have not had the privilege to watch all of the sets so far, but I've been trying to tune in back and forth. Saw the ghost of Prime STDX Power in Easy MD, and I'm like, there's so many resurgences happening, I feel like. But break it down for me, K-Bot.
So I think entering this tournament is pretty interesting. I think Europe has been looking for their revenge, and I think they're starting to find it here. Oro Jackson is a pickup that's come together. Obviously, PxG, likely favorites in the tournament. The match that we were waiting on in the extended break was a 5-game series between PxG and Oro Jackson. It went to 5. PxG got the better of them on that last map. So that is incredibly close between those two. I imagine this is going to be no different, but what you'll notice, speaking of ghosts from the past, Magic, is that FTWin is actually playing with Hexen on the roster and has been over the course of the day today. In fact, I have it on decent record that it seems like Hexen's going to be a somewhat permanent replacement on this roster moving forward for the next few months. So it's been a lot of fun. Actually, I think this has kind of revitalized FTWin in the way they want to play the game and just how motivated they are to come through and win.
No, from what I saw from their set earlier that on stream, there is an X factor, or maybe better well put, an HXN factor in this play. They seem so much more coordinated and also energized, right? Like, I feel like that typical FTWin, like, we're going to come at you energy has not been there in full force. But now, for whatever reason, probably at the hands of one of the best analysts, best minds behind the scenes that the game has ever had, coming back and actually putting all energy into one basket and actually helping execute that is making them go back to their old form.
And if you know anything about how this kind of team has worked in the past, Hexen has had involvement with FTWin for the longest time, probably since STDX stopped playing the game. Hexen has been kind of involved behind the scenes in the FTWin circle, oftentimes being kind of the ghost coach that they don't talk about, but is definitely still there. So this addition to the roster is not exactly surprising to those of us that know this team and have followed this team throughout history. But even still, right, I think to your point, having a mind that is so closely tied with the team and has been for such a long time. The young prodigy of Sam adding to the roster, now finally having some of the support at the back that Hexen can provide, because don't get me wrong, Bursty is fantastic, but I think the reason for this roster change has been because Hexen is more motivated to play the game right now than Bursty is, right? That is literally all this is. You can tell Hexen's actually putting out YouTube content now. Wow.
I know, I saw, I was like, what in the world? What year is this?
That's right. So I think this guy's back, and I think FTWin has been struggling, right? You look at their Riptide performance, you look at some of the things in the past month as well, but I genuinely do think that they can start turning things around now, and maybe they'll try to settle the score with PxG even starting today.
Hopefully so. I think it's really interesting that I heard on stream, FTWin has not won a SuperJump. It's not in their right. It's not in their medal cabinet, their trophy, the wall of trophies, right? But it always feels like there's some kind of craziness that happens during these SuperJumps. And PxG was the craziness last time, but maybe now it's FTWin's turn to take up that mantle. We'll see. PxG, though, I mean, they still have had a almost flawless record for the past 6 months, right?
Yeah. basically when this team comes together, they're most likely to win. The duo, I think, of Gray and Jordan being able to team up, they literally become unbeatable as the Avengers and are just able to crush their opponents no matter what tournament they're playing in. And even oftentimes when it's just one of them, they're able to do the same. But you combine those two incredibly talented individuals and you get this result of this PxG roster that has been dominant for so long. But first up, it's Splat Zones on Umami Ruins. We've been seeing today Biscuit go over to the Winter Rapid Pro and go on this Dreadringer. No real surprise for Zones here.
And we are in winners finals, people. This is it. This is the big money match. PxG versus FTWin. It's starting off with a little bit of a lull, just trying to feel each other out, and as all good teams should, they need to make sure that they have their footing down before they're able to make any big steps. Let's see what they can come up with here, as Gray did end up getting that first pick on the map, and that's a beautiful double team there from the pen and the blaster. This is easily looking like PxG doing what they do best.
Goss so far forward already, providing that third aggressive line with this pro. Actually kind of surprised to see him go over for the pro instead of the 52 here, but I imagine the way that PxG wants to try to play this game into FTWin is to get them on their heels early and continue steamrolling, and it looks like they've done that there with another 3-down situation, nearly a complete wipe again. This cooler so far forward, and Goss is still sitting on top of this dome.
Right, and the straight lines here are so perfect for pro, and as well, there's a lot of tools on FTWin's side to deal with that splash wall if it were to come out, so it's a lot better to just have that bomb, keep the space, keep the distance, poke around. There's 30 ticks left on this zone for the PxG win, and that's a triple ink strike beautifully placed by the Slosher, and Jordan is doing wonders here. Already there's 15 ticks left. There's almost no hope for the members of FTWin to get anywhere close with just a wall of damage that's coming out from the members of PxG. And even though they all went down, there was enough obstacles in their path. That was a clean start for PxG.
Yeah, the way that PxG is going through with this, they came to play. I think they're ready too. After a game 5 with Oro Jackson, you know, a team that clearly tested them in the last one, I think they're still coming fresh off of that victory and are ready to continue to keep up that momentum. Meanwhile, FTWin not only had to play against Moonlight, Moonlight didn't put up a challenge for them today, which is kind of weird because historically that's been back and forth. But again, I think it's this Hexen thing. Now, though, they had to sit there and wait for that other series to wrap up for like 15 minutes. And perhaps fell a little flat there towards the very end. In fairness, though, I think the difference is PxG's ability to continue controlling that main choke point out of Umami is really telling, right? With all the specials they're able to throw down, with the way that once Goss gets up there, you know, that's the great part about having that pro up there, is that you'd love to have something with a little bit more range than a 52 gal or a Slosher or something. And so that Frozen Pro getting into that position is so critical to keep that defensive pressure online, allow Gray and Jordan to just continue running in and grabbing the random, you know, picks where they can. And that kind of sets the stage for what this looks like. FTWin had to try to commit some resource to get Goss off of there in the first place, let alone try to deal with whatever Jordan and Gray were trying to do.
All right, and it makes sense, right? It's a similar thought process, right? With the 52, you're putting down the wall and you're preventing people from stepping forward because there's a giant wall in the way. But with the pro, it's similar because there's very low ink consumption. You're able to keep putting out shots and put the bullets instead of the actual wall there, and then the bomb as well to create a little bit of AoE and actually prevent people from stepping forward. And so you're able to just constantly cycle that out, and then people come in from the side to help you out. It's the same process, it's the same concept, except it's just a little bit better to deal with the long range threats, right? The pro, the Dreadringer, which has really good range. It's just, I really like this adaptation. I think that Frozen Pro is doing a great job in this meta right now to keep some of those threats that could explode games and keep them at bay. I think all in all, what I want to see though from FTWin is it's a lot more easy to say, all right, let's take a look at Moonlight's game plan. Let's figure out a way to beat it. That's not going to be the case here, right? PxG is kind of that next tier up of execution and strategy and understanding, because they have so many more tools, because they're playing the meta comp, whatever you want to call it. They have the tools to really formulate their game plan around what the opponents are doing. So it becomes a weird kind of like trying to get a step ahead of each other. And in the second game, especially on Inkblot, I'm gonna need to see Kyo step up and make sure that he's actually getting the value that he needs to.
Go on that point. Back on the vanilla slosher here, perhaps a little bit more slaying potential. Meanwhile, Goss also perhaps a little more slaying potential. The shot out of Goss. I think this is a new pick as well coming in here, and it's probably going to be a matter of who's able to start getting control. Also, I think the name that we haven't been talking about at all from FTWin's side is Biscuit on this winter. Where was that in the last game? Didn't feel like was getting nearly the amount of chip damage that was coming through there, and we'll see whether or not he's going to be able to get set up as this one, although it looks like it's early blue in the middle of the map.
I really love Noah's pen. I think that Noah's been doing such a good job at actually being the... whenever I try and coach teams and tell them like, oh, when you're a backliner, you need to still do 2v1s with your teammates. He's been doing such a perfect job at that. Look at this positioning, moving up forward, making sure that his extended range is at the range of where his front lines are fighting. This is perfect.
Perfect there, especially coupled with that Trizuka. Clears out this Bats angle, or attempts to anyway. And even still, it's a 2 down right now for FTWin. Biscuit tries to apply some pressure over to Noah, but Noah's just out of arm's reach, being able to hopefully stall this one out here. PxG as Goss gets back on top of this tower, and not really an avenue forward here for Biscuit.
You need Biscuit to make sure that this entire area is safe. That's the exact thinking of FTWin, right? The nooks and crannies of this battalion area in Inkblot is so treacherous, if not careful. Biscuit deciding to jump forward, has the cooler, but is going to go down for it. There's still been no stopping of PxG during this entire 2-minute length push. FTWin has not found their footing the entire time yet. Now it looks like some specials are coming through, and they're able to at least start dancing around, but there's still only one player down at a time on PxG. They're not getting the multi-picks that they need to actually solidify their play.
It feels like FTWin is just desperate at this point, trying to throw everything in to try to find something to get done, not quoting their specials, but already Kyo goes down here as PxG approaches the final checkpoint. It's 3 down for FTWin as PxG continues putting in the work. Hexen's forced to roll away and is now trying to dive on top of the tower just to save the game and extend it halfway through 2.5 minutes. It's been all PxG, and Goss is still around. Gray is still around. The Booyah Bomb goes down, and even still, PxG is a thorn in the side.
I don't think Gray has gone down this entire time. I would be surprised if Gray's death numbers is above 5 throughout this entire match. This is crazy. This is crazy how well Gray is managing to just keep dancing, keep dodging, and putting on the pressure. Finally, this absolute unit has gone down thanks to Kyo's diving effort, and there's finally some footing left back. I really do think that needs to be the cornerstone of FTWin's play from here on out, is just, please, we need to get Gray out.
But it's Jordan coming in on the flank with the bomb, taking down one, and now all of a sudden any momentum FTWin might have started to have is instantly neutralized in mid. With 1.5 minutes left to go here, FTWin's really got to put the pedal to the metal. I'm looking for where Kyo is going to throw these strikes and who is going to be able to move in off of them, but already Hexen's gone down on the front lines, and FTWin has to try to regroup. Goss dives on top of Kyo, and PxG still is in control of the pace of the game.
I really have to question Biscuit's idea and positioning there. On top of the stack is one of the most precarious situations that you can find yourself in, especially with how much AoE damage the members of PxG have. Right, like, this is where you normally are finding them sitting, and Gray is still pointing them out and calling them out and picking them off every single time. I just don't understand how you shut down this player and this entire team that's built around this. Jordan is literally sitting on their plat when it's a 2v1. Like, I think that there's just a different level that these players are at right now.
That sure is what it feels like at the moment. With 30 seconds left to play, FTWin has got to find a way to make a move, but Jordan's already moved even further forward onto their plat. Picks off Kyo again. By the looks of it, this PxG team has had Kyo's number the entire time, and Hexen's crab tank gets immediately neutralized in a forward position. Kyo's trying to make a play again, but is the last one up for FTWin, and the delayed wipe comes through once more. PxG is more than comfortable sharking around the tower, continuing to come from off angles, and surprising FTWin with nearly every engagement. The Booyah Bomb comes out to try to move Noah away for a moment, but even still, FTWin's got to go back to the other side of the stage, and that's so difficult to do.
Hold on.
But maybe they're building some momentum. No, it looks like Goss was able to find two there, and there's the wipeout. PxG, a decisive 2 games up over FTWin here in Winners Finals.
Suffocating. I'm genuinely feeling like they just got sat in a chair, cloth over their face, and just dumped the water on top of it. Like I can't even imagine what it feels like to be FTWin in this situation, to come off of such a finally you feel like you beat the thorn in your side, like finally just ripped off the band-aid that is Moonlight, feeling like you're on top of the world. Great set. You're going into the finals of a SuperJump, trying to actually take this thing down. Thank you for the stat lines here. I'm so curious.
Noah, and 30 KA for PxG in that 5-minute game. Incredible. 30-3 for this pencil on PxG with 7 coolers. To your point, Gray did go down 10 times, but also teamed up for 21. Look, the way this team operates right now, 30, 19, 21, 13 in a 5-minute game. Those are their KAs down the line. What does that mean? That means they are teaming up for a ton of assists. Not only do they have FTWin's number, and FTWin trying to live up to their name, as a matter of fact, continuing to dive in and figure out some way to win the game, but even still, it's the assists that are playing a huge role here. It's teaming up between the brutal combination that the S-Blast and the Slosher has been for so long, and one of the other reasons why the Gray and Jordan team up is so huge.
I also want to, there's 2 things that I really think are important to note here. One, Biscuit went down 8 times compared to Noah's 3. I think it just makes such a big difference to have that turret that is in position and is able to make sure that everyone's being kept back. But also the fact that Sam, Hexen, and Kyo all died more than 13 times or more. Sam with a 15 death counter in 5 minutes. Right, like, I can do the math in a second, but you're almost down the entire time. Like there was almost no point in which, mathematically speaking, every player on FTWin was alive for like more than 5 seconds. It's crazy how much they were just losing fights. At this level of play, you can't just keep going down. Like this is fundamental. This is the basis of the game. But it gets so much more complicated when everything that you're running into is just a brick wall. Like, I feel like there's nothing that they can do.
I think that's the real surprise here, is that FTWin for so long has been able to rely on their main weapons to get the job done, but now they're going up against just as talented players that are teaming up and pressuring them from off angles. That is the real problem here. Randomly, you think you're safe for 1 second, but then there's strikes getting thrown at you. You think you're safe for 1 second, and then Jordan himself is just walking forward onto the opposing plat, and there's nothing that they feel like they can do about it right now. I don't know what the compositional change is here, or if it's a mentality change or what. FTWin looks like they're grasping at straws right now, but they're going to need to put something together if they want to punch their ticket to Grands and prevent PxG, the defending champions, from getting there first.
Okay, I think you need to say one very critical thing here, and that is that I need Sam, like you were saying. Sam feels like, oh, they finally have their support back, they're feeling like they're the prodigy that FTWin have been trying to make this player to be. I think it needs to come through right now. I need Sam to step up in a huge way, and I need the players of FTWin to not take individual fights ever. They need to be teaming up.
Well, it feels like that's what their composition's trying to do right now. Kyo has gone over to the Horns Dreadbringer. That is a crab tank. FTWin is playing a double crab tank composition in 2025. Let that sink in for a moment. And now let's watch the game unfold. The hope is, of course, that they're trying to get Sam into positions, and at least in the opening, it's looked like that's worked to some degree as they're able to find the first wipeout.
Yeah, definitely feels like, again, they didn't overstep, they didn't try and take any risky fights, and they just let Gray, who is obviously going to walk at them, and then fight back from there. Hexen and Kyo already have these crabs ready to go. There is a Zuka on the other side that's going to make things a little bit difficult here, but this is exactly the position that they want to be in, and they're finally actually getting to the point that I think Hexen has been trying to get to the entire time.
Seems like that could be the case. The nice mental reset here, as now we're continuing to see a little more pressure, but PxG has clapped right back. They're moving forward into this stage and continuing to put down that yellow wing, teaming up so beautifully there. Noah continuing to be on the front lines nearly as that pencil, moving in with the rest of the team. And now look how much further forward they're continuing to go. The Booyah Bomb goes down, and Noah is sneaking up those grates, which is a huge amount of pressure because that's one of the safest places to sit on this stage.
My goodness, look, they're full in their base. They're fully in. Jordan is dancing around, literally circling around 3 people and forcing them to stay in that pit area while a Booyah Bomb comes down on top of them. And then Goss is in the back just saying, all right, I guess I get to farm another Zuka. And they took the lead. And the fight still isn't over. This is crazy how much they're able to just maintain their position every single time they get a little bit of distance. They could either continue pushing forward because of how strong they are managing to dodge and dip and win their fights, and also because they have so many players that are being solid and sitting in the right spot so that they can jump back in and keep the momentum going. It's beautiful.
PxG is playing so disciplined as well. Even on that special engagement coming in from FTWin, they just backed away, said, all right, I'll give you the space. And the second that team started going forward, they found the pick against that very Splatana. That means that the momentum for FTWin is completely slowed, as really the game plan with this composition, I think, is funneling into that Splatana. We're seeing what else is going to come through here, but FTWin still another 2 down. They're starting to find some trades back, and now Jordan, look at this, playing hyper aggressive again, but still isn't able to get caught out because someone else was teaming up for the other side. That was Gray on the crossfire, able to come through, and still it's PxG's tower.
PxG trying to guarantee that they have every single advantage going into the final fight in grand finals. They want this so bad. You could feel it in their play how much they're no, this is it. This is ours. We are not giving this up, not without a fight.
Not at all, and you're starting to see them in position, but what specials do they have? I think Kyo getting up to this left side where Hexen is right now would have been the best course of action, but you see PxG immediately trying to get them out.
Oh.
Meanwhile, though, it looks like Biscuit moved up pretty far forward and got 2 down. Hexen's gonna go down on top of the tower here, but it looks like things are actually going pretty well. Sam finds yet another, and it looks like the tower is gonna go for FTWin. They're continuing to try to find the knockout here. Gray finds a trade, the Booyah Bomb comes out, Sam dives in looking for a trade as well, but it's too little too late at the end. Kyo's in position, and they find their first off of that double crab cycle somehow.
And I really do think that that final stretch was because Sam actually was fully committed to winning those fights. Fully committed. Just said, no, this is something I can handle. And that mentality change is so important. I don't know what it is about some of these players on FTWin and how the momentum can shift and how it's all up here, right? It's all about whether or not they have the confidence to keep moving. But whatever happened, whatever Hexen and Kyo were screaming during those comms, they found it. Sam was finally going in, getting picks, looking up at the ledges and putting out that poke damage prior to this, and it was everything that they needed.
scoreline's a lot more even on that last one, or the stat lines anyway, I should say, between both teams. But yeah, to your point, there is so much that goes into the mentality of this in the first place. And FTWin now after having won a game, feels like they're not just doing the impossible at this point with the level of pressure and aggression that PxG was providing to them, while also doing it from a relatively safe position. PxG is not the normal team. They are the disciplined team that will not just let you find the first splat. You have to find a way to push in and take matters into your own hands. And certainly after you win there towards the end with Sam in good position, I swear I saw Biscuit move up pretty far forward there too to poke on the Winter down towards that spawn, and now PxG on a counter pick going to Mahi Mahi here.
I really like this, honestly, and I think we saw that FTWin counterpick this themselves, and I think that taking them there and saying, all right, we're gonna fight on this even ground, and sorry, brain completely shorted out there. Fight on this even ground. We're going to use your own Reef Slider against you, and we're actually going to fully commit to putting Noah in positions to just have a standout game like they did in Inkblot. I think this is great.
Replicating the success from Inkblot, I think, is the key to the game here. Even if it was tower control versus zones, doesn't matter. The point is they were able to so effectively control the key areas of the stage at all points during the entire game. And I think that is exactly what I was talking about there. The behind the scenes right now.
No. Nope. We're on game 4, PxG! On their counterpick, trying to take home winners finals, go all the way to grands without dropping a set, barely dropping a game. They're gonna just try and solidify this one right here, right now.
All right, standard composition here. Sam back on the vanilla stamper. I think that's also going to play a role. Saw that in the first game of this series. And is looking to do the same here. And Goss, again, back with the Frozen as well. Leading into the game here. It looks like actually PxG gets the first laugh. Is now it's 2 down for FTWin, but they're not quite pushing their advantage just yet. Slowly continuing to build up that pressure as we go in.
I think it's a lot easier to push up once the water level drops, right? Because now there's a little bit of separation between, you know, where you need to be and the backup area, right? There's just a little bit more cover that you can work with. And so I think it's fine that they were just waiting to see what would happen, maybe try and bait FTWin into pushing and then getting the zone and then just going 2 down again anyways. So I like what I'm seeing from PxG here. What I need to see from FTWin is to ensure Hyo gets these sliders off in a timely and effective fashion.
And the key part there is also being able to escort some of the rest of the team in. If they can get Hex into position with that Reef Slider set up on this Crab Tank, that could be huge. And it looks like Hex was trying to support Kyo in the front lines with that Crab Tank. And actually, to see success, even though Kyo was taken down, Sam's able to come through, clean the rest of things up, and FTWin now has something going for them.
FTWin's got something here. Not again, pushing themselves, trying to overstep their bounds, and I think that I like that, right? Because what was causing the issues in those first couple of games was saying, oh, okay, we can push up here, when in reality, it's not safe. It's one of those situations that against any other team, against any other like set of players, it is safe to do so because they're the ones that are in control, that have the mechanical advantage, but they need to temper themselves. They need to make sure that they're not creating these situations where they're not even able to back up and they're letting PxG flood all the way into their base. And even there, with Biscuit playing super far back, Gray is able to just pick them all the way off. And this is what I'm saying. They need to be solid. And that's what they're trying to do on these holds. They're not trying to push their advantages too far to the point where they lose them.
Biscuit back to the Sniper Rider has shut down Jordan on the far side of the stage. I think that opened the door for FTWin in more ways than one. And now here comes Kyo with the brief slider to secure the zone. Well done by FTWin to take back, but the fight is still ensuing as Sam has been taken down. Kyo's trying to get some work done, but can't quite do it alone on this far side. And Hexen now is going on an adventure of his own, taking care of Jordan, who was in FTWin's side of the stage, continuing to harass and poke and keep them at bay. Once more, everything is breaking loose, and the second that one person continues to move in against FTWin is the second they're incapable of actually keeping that momentum up. But now, as I say that, the wipeout comes through. We'll see how much of an advantage they can push for as Kyo smells blood in the water.
Now, the thing with the PxG is that what I will say is that they're not playing. It looks like they're playing perfectly. They're not. There's angles, like you just saw, that Biscuit can find that these players can work around to manage to actually punish their slightly off positioning. Like I'm talking like it's a matter of like 2 steps, but their positioning just tends to be just a little bit off. And if FTWin can effectively and consistently poke their way forwards to find those angles, they can do this, and they seem to be doing so right now as Biscuit's able to get the jumps in. Kyo's on the zone. There's 14 ticks left, and there's no specials online for PxG to actually fight this right now. It needs to be all main weapons. Right now the missiles come out, but it's too late.
Nope.
There's too much paint, and that is FTWin winning game 4. Holy cow.
How are they able to turn this around? Tell you what, folks, not any average team is going to be able to go down 0-2 in so brutal of those first 2 games, then come back not once but twice into consecutive maps on counter picks against them, and now find themselves in a game 5 situation. That is the veteran, both to your point is what you were saying of Kyo and Hexen being able to right their mentalities and get them in to a possible grand finals clinching spot here.
Exactly. It really does feel like it's that long time that I've won so many championships that I just need to get back there again kind of situation. It's a rebirth. It's a resurgence. They were like, all right, what we did during the first 2 games was not working. Let's try something different. And it's that flexibility and adaptability that I think is undervalued right now in the current understanding of how to formulate yourselves as a team in Splatoon, right? I mean, you look at Moonlight, and yeah, they're able to like switch off the tent sometimes, that yada yada, but like, their overall strategy doesn't really shift. Right? But at this level of play, that's what you need to be doing. You need to be able to just say, we are completely going to be changing our habits, how we're looking at the match, how we're looking at the players, how we're looking at our teammates as tools to formulate a new way to win.
Last stage, Kyo went 3-8. No, I did not read that backwards. That is correct. 3-8. On the Dreadringer, despite the team winning the game. That's the kind of playstyle that I think Kyo's looking for on this Dread. Create some space, even if you're sacrificing your own life, Sam's gonna be able to clean it up or something of the sort. I think that's the idea here, and whether or not they're able to replicate that is another thing to watch out for. Also, other thing I want to comment on, Biscuit 14-2 in that last stage, switching back over to the Sniper Raider, I think has been very impactful here for FTWin. That little bit of extra range makes a world of a difference.
And I think it's the key here. I love the Frozen Pro pick. It feels fun, it feels fresh, and it feels like a new kind of consistent poke AoE kind of deathball wall of pain way to play. But the Sniper Raider is just too consistent, it's too effective, and it's too long range, especially in a composition where you have to deal with Gray and this Frozen Pro.
What did Biscuit just die to on the opening?
No
That's
idea.
a huge advantage for PxG with no cooler out from FTWin. This could be a very quick 40 points, 50 points on the board early on their own counter pick.
Oh my gosh, Hexen dancing around with that crab and going all the way around that railing to dodge the strikes and end up getting a pick, but oh my goodness. That's already a deep cut from PxG on this Game 5. We're in Game 5, folks! Can we get a little bit of hype in this chat room, please? As FTWin walks forward.
I regret to inform you, you are not at land. You missed that. That was about 2 weeks ago. We're still online here, my friend. You can't feel the energy from the crowd, and believe you me, it was electric. But turning our eyes back here, FTWin maybe finally has an opening after that initial disadvantaged state they were put in early. A huge pick. They find the penalty here and are going to extend the game. Where's Hexen's grab tank going? Doesn't look like much of anywhere. And now Gray sneaks up again. Trade out with Biscuit. No cooler online again for FTWin.
And they tried, Hexen was like, all right, this is a split-second decision. We need to try and match them here. If they take out our pencil, we take out theirs, but was not able to secure it. And I think that this is going to lead, even though this zone does flip, PxG is going to be in the winning position here. They have all the advantages they need, and they just need to execute. Here comes Gray on this Booyah Bomb. Here comes all of the displacement in the world to try and get these players in these right positions. And you see, the members of FTWin have to just give it, have to back up, but luckily they didn't lose their lives for it. And I think that that is the key difference I think that we're seeing in response to PxG's play, is that they are refusing to go down. They are playing for their lives so much more consistently, and it's paying off in the long run. And here comes Kyo trying to take care of Noah and is able to force a jump out at the very least. FTWin is trying to open up this closet, clawing it from PxG and get that broom.
They're able to find some stability now, and Kyo's been holding onto this reef slider for what feels like an eternity. I don't know what he's going to end up going for, but you see the displacement specials come out of PxG once more. It's a Booyah Bomb on top of the zone. It's 2 members diving forward, and they are instantly able to collapse on FTWin. That is 3 down, and I think the last one had to jump away. Biscuit to preserve that cooler yet again. PxG is going to extend their lead on this push.
I'm getting flashbacks to Area Cup. Just the tension in the room as, maybe not the room, but the tension in the field as the timer takes down, and at the very last split second, the players know exactly how to approach the zone and prevent the lead from switching. That was beautifully executed. And even though there's a reef slider that goes on the zone here, this is PxG's game. They are in complete control, and they just need to make sure that FTWin does not find any crazy kooky ways. And that's why I love this Barnacle and Dying counter pick. There's only a few ways that you can actually approach the enemy team, and PxG is confident that theirs is the better.
2v2, no engagements happen. Everyone jumps back in now. Biscuit's going to be able to find one against Gray. Hexen dives on the right side. Now is looking for Jordan. Jordan's going to be the best, but is going to get traded down in the process. Kyo is back. Is about to have the reef slider at the ready here, and I would not be surprised to charge towards the enemy stack or something of the sort, especially now with Gray going down again. Here's the reef slider. It doesn't find that pick. All right, fine, whatever. But even still, that level of displacement is what FTWin's been looking for a long time. But they have to be careful. Jordan is snuck behind them, is forced to jump on away, but no one from FTWin was able to get set up in an advantageous position. They have to give away their opponent's stack, which is where they would have loved to be positioned right now, but they're on their heels as the displacement specials come back in. Joe comes back through, the strikes are back out, and the zone is right back to Cyan.
All it took was two things for PxG to get back into this position, and that was Gray getting into position and the missiles coming out, and they were able to completely shut down FTWin. But speaking of shutting down, all of a sudden the members of PxG are on the heels. The zone is not theirs, but Jordan has Hexen's number. He says, "You've been playing for too long, old man. This is my tournament, and this is my time to show that I'm the king of this game." And there's 6 seconds left for FTWin to try and collapse this, try and cap this. That's Noah going down! Noah's down! And there's a reef slider on the side of FTWin. Goth is in the backfield. It's only Biscuit left alive! And that is the craziest spin of events I have ever seen in a winner's finals. PxG going to grands for SuperJump 6.
Wow. That's all I've got is just wow. The level of focused, centered towards the zone as we get towards the end of the game. And the decision making, too, of the individual players. That's the thing, is that the mechanics of PxG are not necessarily what gets them to this level. It is their decision making. It is the fights they elect to take. It is the fight that Gray took in order to get that one onto Biscuit early, sneak super far forward into a position where he knows the enemy pencil is going to be, and instantly take him out, creating a colossal advantage for PxG at the beginning. And then all that's left is continue throwing your strikes and Booyah Bomb on top of the zone as things go along. Finding a second pick onto Biscuit at some point in that game further delays FTWin, further prevents them from playing the game they want to play. And then there at the very end, the real thing and the reason why FTWin was not able to set up a convincing hold at the end of that last map was Jordan running towards the enemy spawn. All of FTWin forced to turn around to go answer for the slosher they know is behind them. And all of a sudden, they can't move as far forward. And the specials that are about to come out are no longer have to be used towards their own stack to retake that, but instead can be thrown towards the zone. Just fantastic play decision making from PxG across